When you create artwork inside of Illustrator, you'll find the need to move things around or to move parts of objects around. So let me show you a couple of tools available to you that will help you do just that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a couple of shapes on my artboard. I'll just go ahead and drag out a couple of stars. And I'll just put them in different locations on this artboard like so. And then I'll go to the black arrow called the selection tool. So you click on this guy here, and when you click on an object, you have selected that object. So I'll click on this one and this one, and as you can see, I can click on it, hold my mouse down, and move it. I can put it wherever I want with the black arrow. That is his job, to click and move things. Whenever you want to manipulate portions of your objects, you use the white arrow, which is called the direct selection tool. This tool is useful when you want to click on the edge of an object and then grab one of these guys here called a point. So I can click on this point and I can move it. And I can reshape this object. Then when I want to move the whole thing again, I click on the black arrow and I can move it around. When I need to select more than one object, I have a couple of choices available to me. I can click on this star, for example, and I can hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and keep it down and click on other objects. And the objects that I have selected turn blue, as you can see here, or whatever color that layer is. So if I have a layer that has a different color right here, that's the color I'm going to see when I select that object. Just to show you, I'll double click on this layer, and where it says color, I'll change this from light blue to red. And now this outline turns red. Alright, so what you can do to use this color thing here, this option, is to use it in conjunction with whatever you're drawing. So if you like to draw trees, I would make a layer green that has the leaves on it, and I would use another color like brown for the trunks and so on. I usually use that color scheme, or I just name the layer appropriately. I can also click and drag select things. First, let me go ahead and close my layers. I can click anywhere with this black arrow on my artboard like this and hold my mouse down, and I can drag out this selection boundary. And whatever it touches is selected when I let go of my mouse. Now you'll notice that it got these up here, but it left these alone. Okay, so when I let go of the mouse, you'll notice that the boundary was touching most of those stars, and then it grabbed them. If I want to grab everything, just draw a bigger boundary. To deselect, as you see, I'm simply clicking away from anything that's selected. So for example, I can click here, or click here. Anywhere that is not selected will deselect for you. I can also go to the Select menu to select things, and that's right up here. So I can go to Select, All, and everything's selected, and I can click on anything in this selection and move all of it around. Once again, to deselect, I can click away from it, or I can go back to the Select menu and choose Deselect. Now something that's very important to understand about layers, I'll just demonstrate very quickly, is that if I have more than one layer, and let's say on this layer here, I'm going to draw out a couple of rectangles. Now the layer that's underneath the rectangle layer has the stars on it. So I can click on the eyeball and I'll hide those stars to show you that. So I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to lock the layer with the stars. Okay? So this bottom layer, layer 1, is the one that contains the stars. If I go to the Select menu and I choose All, you'll notice that it does not select the stars. That's because the stars are protected with this lock. So that's very important to remember. When there are things you do not want to manipulate, always lock that layer. So when I'm working, I'm locking and unlocking constantly. So I can unlock now, and I'll deselect. I'll go to Select All, and now both layers and everything on them are now selected. So that's something that's very critical when you're working with layers in conjunction with the Select All tool. So you can also, by the way, have objects on different layers and still select everything, as long as those layers are available and not locked. This time I'll click on the eyeball and I'll hide the stars layer, and I'll go ahead and drag select. And when I show the eyes again, you'll notice that they are not selected. So locking or hiding a layer protects those objects from being selected. This will become much more important once you guys get into very complicated pieces of artwork where you have 10 layers, 15 layers, and you really want to manipulate just one element. So if you're working on a nighttime scene and you want to grab the stars and not affect the moon and the ocean, make sure you lock those appropriate layers. That's why it's a really good idea to get into the habit of also naming your layers as you work. Simply double click on the name of the layer and name it right here. So I'll go ahead and call this one stars, and I'm working upside down, so here we go, stars, and this one is going to be the rectangle, so I'll go ahead and just put rec for now. Alright, so that is how you can select things inside of Illustrator.